Make a habit of screen-free time. Kathy Brennan here, helping you to look better, feel better, and do better. Well, I'm in this series of habits, and today we're going to talk about making a habit of screen-free time. Now, the irony of me telling you this on a screen is not lost on me. This is pretty funny, but I guess I'm getting after the people, maybe who have a lot of time on their screen and need to or want to create a habit of some screen-free time. It's not an easy thing. Think of all the screens in your life. I work at a computer screen. I have an e-reader. I have a smartphone. Maybe you have a tablet. There are kiosks at the mall and at the doctor's office. You might have a gaming device. There are just screens everywhere. And screen-free time is not no screens. It's making a concerted effort to have intentional time away from a screen. So it's managing your screen time and instead of letting that screen time manage you. Now this is going to take some effort. There are all kinds of forces at work trying to grab your attention. Oh yeah, the social media, YouTube, television, the kiosks in the doctor's office, they all know what they're doing. They're grabbing your attention. They're grabbing your attention away from what you're doing into what they want you to see, into their advertising dollars, into their content. They know exactly what they're doing. So this takes some effort because we have habits, or we might not have a habit of screen-free time, and so our habit becomes just looking at our phone every few minutes, or looking at every shiny, flashy thing that comes in front of you, or so we have habits, and so it's good to have a habit of managing your screen time so you're in control of what you're doing instead of having the advertisers or companies manage your habits. See how that goes? So these habits too are disruptive to our brain. They're distracting. Like you're having a conversation with someone, all of a sudden they answer their phone. It distracted them from the conversation, and it interrupts the flow of what's going on between people. And again, absolutely, the people that have these screens in front of you know exactly what they're doing. I'm here to tell you, you can form a habit of screen-free time, and you can be more in control of your life, and this is a good habit that leads to a good life. Why is this a good habit? When we spend time intentionally away from screens, we're taking care of our brains. We need to take care of our brain just like we take care of our lungs and our eyes and our muscles. We exercise and we get enough sleep and we work on our relationships. We also need to care for our brain. It's a physical thing, and all of these images on little screens are having a negative impact on our brain. The other thing that happens quite often when we've got screens in front of us is that we're multitasking, or at least we think we're multitasking. But there's no such thing as multitasking. What happens is you switch from one activity to another, from one activity to another. So you're switching, and that switching is super ineffective, and it makes you not think as clearly. It causes stress, and you just won't do your task as well, and it will take longer. So this switching is what's doing. We're not really multitasking. And so finishing what you're doing before you move on to do the next thing is what the benefit of this, but you need to learn how to manage your screens. This brain thing is so important to me because for all of my life, up until about 5 years ago, I had no depth perception. I could only see in 2 dimensions. I'd use one eye or I'd use the other eye. Don't know how to use them together, or I didn't. And so I saw everything like a paper doll. Everything was just 2-dimensional. Well, I went to vision therapy, and this is what I learned. Vision is your eyes plus your brain equals vision. So I simply needed to teach my brain how to work with my eyes so I could see in 3 dimensions. It's just this fascinating thing. And I have some depth perception. I can't believe I see how I see. I mean, things were flat for most of my life. I still have a little trouble up close, but I got to tell you, our brains are fascinating, and they can grow and change. And all these screens are having a negative effect on your brain. They're focusing faces down a little square like you see me right now. It's so much better for us if we see someone in the right scale in front of us. I could go on and on. So how are you going to create this habit? First of all, have person-to-person contact. If you get a text, don't start having a conversation over text. Call them. And I know this will be radical. Some people won't even know how to talk on the phone. They'll think there's something wrong. But we were created to have interactions with people. We were not created to have interactions with typing, with text. So maybe even do it just once a day. I'm gonna call somebody instead of texting them back. Same with emails. Oh my goodness, I've seen this in business so importantly. Email's great if you're giving information one way. Email is not great if you're going to have a conversation. You might as well get 2 or 3 of you on the phone or in a meeting to really work problems out. Even a 3-way call is so much better than text, email. It's just things get lost. We can see each other. That helps us understand what's being said. We can hear voice inflection. These screens are getting between us and other people. They're creating this barrier that's causing problems with relationships. So be courageous. Call somebody. Call a friend and talk to them. Instead of email, call someone and say, okay, this is what I think. Is that what you were saying? Have a conversation with them. It takes less time. It really does. Here's another way to form this habit. Count. This is a little game you can play with yourself. How many people you have eye contact with per day? We have gotten to a point where we can be even in office environments and we end up texting or emailing the person that's in the next cube. We really need to talk to one another. It's such an important skill, and it's gonna make your life better. It's not gonna make your life better to spend the rest of your life emailing and texting people. You're not gonna have the interpersonal skills. Your relationships aren't gonna go well. Your communication is gonna be messed up. It's already hard enough to communicate with somebody, let alone put a screen in the middle of it. Here's another tip. If you're tempted to keep looking at your phone, for example, put it in a drawer. Just go put it in a drawer upstairs in your bedroom or something. And then go downstairs, and then you don't have the phone. So if you need to look at it, oh my goodness, I need to know how old Richard Gere is. Like we do this stuff, then you have to go upstairs and open the drawer, so it's just a little barrier for you, and so it'll help you avoid that screen time. Put any little barrier between you. Here's a good one. Don't look at your phone for the first half hour after you wake up and the last half hour before you go to bed. And an hour would even be better. The bedtime thing, the light just is not good for us. And in the morning, allow yourself to wake up and think and breathe and slowly get into the day. If you just slap yourself with work emails or bad news, or don't do that. Don't do that. Give yourself the ability to wake up before you start being barraged by people trying to grab your attention. Here's another tip. Agree to not have phones if you're at dinner with somebody. It's like, hey, I'd like this to be a phone-free dinner. And if people don't have to agree with you, but you can ask them to do that and see how that goes. I find that so often, we don't have to wonder about anything. Like, gee, yeah, you're talking about a subject and then you wonder something and then someone looks it up. Well, looking it up isn't even that important for the conversation, but we are so used to it now. It's become our habit that we have all the information in the world at our disposal. But that doesn't build relationship, and that doesn't help your brain, and that doesn't give you peace. Think about how many things you look up that you wouldn't have to look up. If you're like me, you forget them within 10 minutes anyways. So, eating without phones, at home or out, you might be the oddball friend of yours who decides, no, this is what I want to do. And then you're wondering, but Kathy, my friends just are, I text them and they text me and they're used to that. Well, have a conversation with your friends. If you are captive to your phone, have a conversation with your friends and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't look at my phone. Well, you don't even need to apologize. You don't need to say, I'm sorry. I don't look at my phone that often. If you really need to get a hold of me, call me, because that would be the best way to figure out where we're all meeting or whatever. So make a habit of screen-free time. Whatever it is to you, you can decide what that is. You can decide what's going to work for you. Maybe work it out with your spouse or your friends or your children. Have these discussions. Oh, that's the other thing. Kids don't want to do this, and kids don't know what's best for them. So talk about it with them. Listen to them. Have them be creative about solutions. Hey, they're pretty smart. They are really smart. And they know if they're, they eventually can figure out, oh, I'm doing this because everybody else does it. And help them learn to be themselves. Yeah, there's so much to be said. Make a habit of screen-free time. Be well.